Okay, so yesterday, Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry gave a little bit more clarity to the LSU football head coaching situation. So we don't know who the candidates are. We don't know who LSU is going to hire. We do know who's making the hire, or should I say, who is not going to be making the hire. Jeff Landry did not pull any punches. He was pretty adamant about who was not going to make this hire. And look, I'm not going to put words into the man's mouth. Let's hear it from him himself. It's about 2 minutes, but I want you to hear it all because there's a lot to unpack here. So here is Governor Jeff Landry.
The first question is absolutely correct. We are not going down a failed path. And I wanted to tell you something. This is a pattern. The guy that's here now that wrote that contract cost Texas A&M $70-something million. Right now, we got a $53 million liability. We are not doing that again. And you know what? I believe that we're going to find a great coach. I mean, maybe we'll let President Trump pick it. He loves winners. You know, I'm not going to be picking the next coach. But I can promise you, we're going to pick a coach, and we're going to make sure that that coach is successful. And we're going to make sure that he's compensated properly. And we're going to put metrics on it. Because I'm tired of rewarding failure in this country and then leaving the taxpayers on the foot, to foot the bill. So, yeah, I absolutely. Who's that? No. I can tell you right now, Scott Woodward is not selecting the next coach. Hell, I'll let Donald Trump select it before I let him do it. I don't know, but the Board of Supervisors is going to come up with a committee, and they're going to go find us a coach. Because, wait, I want to hold on. One real quick thing on that. Because here's what y'all reporters need to do. Y'all need to start looking at who represents all these people, like these agents. You know what's interesting? If I'm not mistaken, Woodward's agent, Kelly's agent, the Texas A&M, they're all the same agent. Like, you realize if I would be, I don't know how many sports writers we got here today? Just you. We should have a bunch. Okay? Like, this is ridiculous. Lawyers would be disbarred for the way these agents act and the way they're able to represent. In fact, there's no doubt, they may even represent some of the players now. Like, it's really time for the NCAA to put on some guardrails in college sports. Because, and it's fine. We don't need the guardrails. If big billionaires want to spend all that kind of money, no problem. But if I got to go find $53 million from Kemp, it's not going to be a pleasant conversation. I'm just telling you. I know. And I think that that's important as well. Y'all should start looking into that.
Certainly a lot to unpack here. So, okay, I also find it really funny. He said, how many sports reporters are in the audience? Just you? Okay, this was originally a press conference for SNAP benefits in Louisiana, which I find objectively hilarious. I don't know how you got to the topic of Scott Woodward when, having a press conference about SNAP benefits, but whatever, he did. There is a lot to unpack there. Some of it I actually agree with. A lot of it I don't. There's some pretty wild stuff. Let's get into the beginning where he said Scott Woodward gave out a contract that caused LSU to possibly pay $54 million and Texas A&M $73. Yes, LSU could potentially have to pay Brian Kelly $54 million in a buyout. That's on Scott Woodward. It was a 10-year deal, all fully guaranteed. That's on him. The $73 million that he's referring to was Jimbo Fisher's buyout at Texas A&M. I know it's a common way of thinking. Like, someone brings something up, everyone else just kind of rolls with it. Ross Bjork gave Jimbo Fisher that $73 million buyout at Texas A&M. If you remember, Jimbo got the extension following that 2020 season. It was the COVID year. A&M went 9-1, just barely missed the playoff. They extended him after that. Scott Woodward was already here because he was at LSU in 2019, obviously. So that part's not correct. Now, did Woodward give Jimbo a 10-year deal? Yes, he did. And maybe that's where I agree with Governor Landry, where he said these 10-year deals are out of control. I agree. I don't like the 10-year deal. Yes, Woodward did not give the big extension that caused all the buyout money, but he did give Jimbo a 10-year, $75 million deal up front in order to take the job. So maybe there's a little pushback there as well. As we go through this, you can look and say, I'll defend Scott Woodward. I'll be against Scott Woodward, really depending on what aisle you sit on. We'll break all that down, but blaming Woodward for the Jimbo Fisher buyout, it's a lot like when everyone used to say, oh, well, Glenn Dorsey won all those awards his senior year, but his junior year was actually better. No, it wasn't. His junior year wasn't better. Like, go look at the numbers. Not only did he make just a bigger impact altogether his senior year, his raw numbers were better as a senior. It's just one of those things that someone throws out there and everyone claims that it's fact. The governor's dead wrong about that. That was not Jimbo Fisher. Or that was not Woodward that gave Jimbo the big extension. I do agree with Landry, though, that why repeat a failed system? It didn't work with Brian Kelly, giving him the 10-year deal with the big buyout. And blame Woodward or not, it didn't work out for Texas A&M with Jimbo Fisher. So I do agree on that. I also appreciate he did put in there, I will not be making the hire. Do I believe that? I have no idea. But it's not Jeff Landry and it's not Scott Woodward. That's what we know for sure. So then that brings up the point, should Woodward even be allowed to make this hire? Well, it's his job to make this hire, at least for now. I imagine, the word is LSU's trying to close in on a university president very soon. I imagine Scott Woodward will be replaced at this point. I don't know how he can continue his job. I mean, the governor of the state of Louisiana came out and said, yeah, we have an athletic director, but we don't trust him as far as we can throw him. He's going to have to be out here. So I don't really see how Scott Woodward continues as a lame duck athletic director after these statements. So I imagine that's coming. That's literally just an assumption on my part. Do we worry about Scott Woodward making this hire? Full disclosure, I'd rather Woodward make the hire than Governor Landry. However, yes, I had some concerns. I feel like a lot of times in football, Scott Woodward targeted the biggest name. I'm going to make the biggest splash. Maybe didn't look for the best fit. Like everyone wants to bring up Lane Kiffin. If you want to hire Lane Kiffin, hire him because he's the best fit. Don't hire him because his name's Lane Kiffin. I think Scott Woodward's been a little guilty of that at times. Now, Woodward's taking heat for his football hires, and I get it. You're in the South. You were at A&M. You were at LSU. You're going to get blamed for the success and failure of the football program. But look at what Jay has done. I mean, the women's basketball team just won a national championship a few years ago because Scott Woodward hired Kim Mulkey. Now, how hard was it to hire her? I don't know. I feel like a lot of people could have hired Kim Mulkey, but that is a notch on Scott Woodward's belt. He gets credit for that. Then you look at Jay Johnson. That's the crown jewel. There ain't a person in Louisiana has a bad thing to say about Jay Johnson on or off the field. 2 natties in 4 seasons, and he just continues to reload. Those are 2 positives. You want to bring up a negative, LSU basketball, Matt McMahon. But I will give Scott Woodward a little bit of a pass on this for a number of reasons. And I've been critical of Scott Woodward in the past. At the time, most people liked the hire because Matt McMahon had a really good resume at Murray State. Hand up, I did. When I saw what he did at Murray State, he recruited John Moran. I was like, okay, this is a guy that could work out. Number 2, who was going to take that job? Find me a big-name coach that coached at a high level at a big-time program that was going to take that LSU job with all the uncertainty around the LSU basketball program. Can't think of one. Number 3, LSU's never really invested in basketball. Like most of the SEC schools, it's football, then basketball. Here at LSU, it's football and baseball. That's why you dominate in baseball, and your basketball program has struggled to catch up to those. But even if Matt McMahon turns it around, what's Scott Woodward always going to be known for? Scott Woodward's always going to be known for the guy that fired Will Wade, not the guy that hired Matt McMahon. It just is what it is. Will Wade was a beloved figure, had a lot of support here. So even if Matt McMahon turns this thing around, the Tigers are an NCAA tournament team this year, he's always going to be looked at more of, you got rid of Will Wade, not hiring Matt McMahon. Do I care if Scott Woodward makes this hire? Nope. Do I care if Governor Landry makes this hire? No. As a matter of fact, I'm glad he's not. I don't care who makes this hire as long as the right person gets the job. What I do care about is your governor getting on TV and embarrassing LSU. Because what has been the talk nationally? It hasn't been, oh, the LSU coaching hire just got interesting, or, oh, is Scott Woodward's job on the line? It's everybody retweeting stuff and saying, is this real? Is this actually happening in the state of Louisiana? Because now, look, I'm sure his intentions were good. Because what he brought up, it was all, I want to help people in Louisiana. I want to help LSU. I'm sure his intentions were good. But what big name head coach is going to want to take this job now? What recruit's going to want to come here not knowing who's getting hired or who's even making the hire? I just think more harm was done during this speech than good. And again, I'm sure his intentions were good. I just think it's a bad look, and I can't get behind it.